Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to the Friday night edition of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Yes, I am very happy after the Edmonton Oilers shut out Dallas tonight in the playoffs. Where's Jeremy Jones? Where is that jerk Jeremy Jones? He was harassing me 2 nights ago. Well, I'm going to tell you, it's coming right back at him. Right back at him. Carole Obley is our guest tonight. What is the Sixth Sense all about? We're going to find out here in just a little bit. But first, let us say hello to each and every one of you. We have Kitty Caddywhack in the gold medal position. Eternity Eternal with the silver. Road Flare with the bronze medal tonight. And Paramarv, how you doing, my friend? Good to have you here. As we kick off roll call right now, let us say hello to Race Fan in number 4 position. David Norenberg is here. David Norenberg will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Scrolling on down, T-Bone, my man. How are you? Robert Lamoth, thanks for coming on in. Road Flare, nice to see you. The lovely and talented Deanna Ann, thank you for joining us tonight. As we scroll on down, there's Frankie B. hanging on out. Linda, how are you? In the studio. Nice to see you as well as we continue on with our roll call. We say hello to Cosmic Joe. Thanks for coming on in. Little Cam on YouTube. Literally, it's unbelievable. He did 26 speed walking miles. Not walking, not running, speed walking. Literally, hour and 22 minutes. Guy was cruising. Amanda, how are you? Love you back. Fast Hemi, thanks for coming on in. Nikki in Seattle is here. Nikki in Seattle will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Thomas Rock, how are you tonight? Mama Catherine, I love you, Mama Catherine. I hope you're ready for a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Much love to you, my dear. Operation Shutdown, how are you? Number 39 in your program, starting in goal tonight from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Janssen, there he is. 2.26 goals against average, by the way. Scrub-a-dub-dub, how are you tonight? Eternity Eternal, nice to see you. Paul Demon, what's happening? As we continue on with our roll call, Carol Amario and Rockin' Rory, nice to see you guys. Appreciate you coming on in. Nina Williams, thank you for doing this. And yeah, you know what, Kimberly Burgess is in the chat room. You know what that sweetheart did today? She came to my daytime office. She dropped me off an ice cap and an alien sticker for my Jeep. What a sweetheart. Came in to give me a hug and say happy birthday, gave me a sticker and an ice cap. I love you, Kimberly. You are just amazing. Thank you so much from my heart. I really appreciated it today, and I really appreciated seeing you. So thank you very, very much, my friend. Scrolling on down, Jay Trueseeker, how are you? And Ann B, nice to have you here. Michelle Wilfong, her hair is perfect for tonight's show. She sent me a private message saying my hair is perfect for tonight. Not my hair, her hair, actually. All right, scrolling on down. Let us go next to Al Garay over on Twitch. 60 deadlifts of 600 pounds using his sixth sense in 60 seconds. Totally jacked for tonight. Steve Garza, how are you tonight? Nice to see you. We're in roll call here, so let's continue scrolling on down. Sharon Sunshine, welcome to SOR Chat. James Whitkus, welcome to SOR Chat. Digger Dog, thank you for joining us. And Kitty Caddywhack, thank you for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is an awesome way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you, Kitty, very, very much. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We got Carole Obley waiting on by patiently to come on in and have a good show with us for the next couple of hours. Hope you enjoy it because it's going to be fun learning about our sixth sense. We are in roll call on YouTube right now, so be patient as we next say hello to Walter Kochabinski. How are you? And Cielo, nice to have you here. We are caught up right there. Super Chat is open. Hi, Hillbilly Herb. And it's that time of the night we're asking you to do me a favor. Throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We're going to have a fun show tonight learning about our sixth sense. Carole Obley is here. She's going to join us momentarily. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will kick things off with another spooky story. We'll follow that up with extra small Lee Strauss and the Q&A. All right. I'm looking forward to this one tonight. I really am. Carole Obley is the author of Wisdom for the Spirit World, I'm Still With You, and Soul to Soul Connections. She has communicated with souls who have crossed over and into the spirit world through thousands of private and group sessions. She has earned a reputation in her geographical area as the real deal among psychic mediums. She travels nationally to speak and teach workshops and maintains a practice mediumship based near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You know, I haven't traveled to the East Coast much, but I've been to Pittsburgh a number of times. I wonder what she puts on her Permonti sandwich. We're going to find out here momentarily. Carole Obley, it is so good to have you back on Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
Hi, Dave. Good. Thanks for having me. I don't eat Permontes, though, I have to tell you.
I had one once. It was different. It was different. Good. Very good, but different. That's for sure.
Yes.
I have friends of mine who live in New Brighton and what's the other place called? Monaca, in those areas just outside of Pittsburgh. I wonder if have you been through there?
I know where both of them are.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know the giant like 125-year-old trestle bridge they have there for the railroad tracks? They
That
do a big fire.
Yeah,
they do a
that
big
I don't
fireworks
know
show there.
about.
Yeah, they do a big fireworks show there. My friend presents that. It's kind of cool.
Oh, cool.
Yes. But we're not here to talk about Pittsburgh, the Penguins, the Pirates, or anything else tonight. We're here to talk about psychic intuition, the ability to tap into your sixth sense. So let's learn a little bit about you, where our audience may not be familiar with your work, and that's okay, because they're barely familiar with mine. How did it all begin for you? When did you learn about your abilities?
Not until my mid to late 30s. And I've been at this for about 30 years. And it came about because I had an overnight fire. And I was working a business, owned a business. And the business, we had an electrical fire. And it took me out of that business. And so for about a year, I had no clue what I was going to do. I believe that that happened so that I could merge with this life purpose of being a medium, a writer, a workshop leader, uh, done many, many media shows. So, it took me a long time, though, to find my way onto that pathway. And when I was a child, interestingly, ironically, I was afraid of death.
Me too.
So, um, yeah, now, I'm just a small part of people's healing journeys to connect people in a beloved reunion when they come for readings.
I need to ask you that because I have a dire fear of death. Okay. And I'm just turning 52. Okay. And I know I'm still a young man at heart. I mean, I don't feel a day over 30. And I feel more as handsome as I did when I was like 25. And I got to tell you, though, my entire life, since I was about 18 years old, I have been just petrified with death. I know it's inevitable. I know I don't have a choice. And just talking about it, those few words I've said to you right there, I literally have panic attacks, and I can feel my anxiety brewing just by having those couple of sentences to you.
Hmm. Well, I think my work as a medium and over 15,000 readings at this point, I absolutely look forward to going back home. And so it was a big leap for me from when my first grandparent passed. And I remember going to the funeral home, I was only 10 years old at the time. And I remember viewing him there in the casket. And I was, I had nightmares after that. And so it took a long time, till I got into this work and really hearing from many, many souls who have departed the physical world that it's very beautiful. That is, if you've led a good life. Um, and I don't think you fear death. My sense is you probably fear maybe the pathway to death. Maybe some sort of terrible illness or suffering or um, that I don't want to experience, but I really do look forward to going home. That doesn't mean I'm suicidal or anything, but it is our real home compared to here. This is a strange land for the soul. And the art of sensing, my latest book, that's what I wrote about, was the soul's journey and how intuition is the voice of the soul, and how we can learn to follow that. And it will eliminate fear when you do that.
See, and I believe all that. I really do believe all that. And I've had no problem believing in my own spirituality, in my own contacts, my own experiences that I've had. And I know there's many others like me, but just the thought, I think the thought is this. It's twofold for me. Number one, what if Darwin was right and there is nothing afterwards? Now, I don't believe that personally, but that what if sticks in my head. And number two, I like it here. I realize the other place might be better and I get to see Jimi Hendrix and Freddie Mercury in concert. I get that. All right? And that sounds like a good time for me. But
Well,
just the thought, like, we as humans, and I don't mean to turn this show morbid right off the bat, but we as humans literally get ripped off here. We do, and I'm kind of bugged by that.
I'm not sure I know what you mean by ripped off, but certainly there's, Buddhism says the nature of life is suffering, and I agree with that. Until you learn that you don't have to do that. So I don't know if that's what you mean by being ripped off.
No,
Um,
ripped off because 80, let's say you live to be 80 years old. That's a blink of an eye. Especially biblically speaking, when you had people living like 3, 4, 500, 600 years. I could go for one of those lives. I really could. Right? I could see myself at 125 years old, going to a nightclub in Las Vegas and cutting a rug with a 20-year-old girl 100 years younger than me. I could totally see myself doing that. That sounds cool. Chances are not going to happen, but I still can see myself doing it.
well, we're meant to be focused on physical life. That's for sure. I mean, this is why we're here. We're here to really, the only reason that we're here is to evolve spiritually. Um, and when we don't see that, when we get lost in other things, that's when we get really off track. And that's how our intuition can put us back on the track of why we're really here. In no way am I saying that we shouldn't enjoy beautiful things, have fun, our physical body, friendships, love relationships. But the nature of the physical plane is that everything here is temporary. What is eternal is that soul within us. So the physical plane is wonderful as long as you don't get lost in it.
I get that. And to me, spiritually speaking, that makes a lot of sense to me. It really does. It makes a lot of sense to me. And I like that fact, but it's just that little piece of doubt that I have, that I just can't shake that piece of doubt. But
Well, I
that's what
can
drives
tell
me
you
nuts.
that we do go on after dying. It's not a belief with me. It's my direct experience, thousands of times. Feeling spirit, hearing spirit. If it's not the soul of that consciousness, what is it? So I happen to know that most atheists are indeed wrong. Sorry to say, but they are wrong. Consciousness is energy, and we know that energy cannot be destroyed. So it simply changes form. It's like water. Water can be steam, water can be liquid, water can be solid. And so, we are that consciousness that simply takes on a physical form in order to come here and experience everything that you were talking about, having a body, having fun, eating, uh, sexual experiences, all of that is something that we come here to experience because in the spirit world, those things really don't exist. They exist in a way, in that it's a realm of thought. So whatever you think about, you instantly create. Here we have the element of time, which is artificial. It's something that we've designed, for convenience and so forth. In the spirit world, there is no time. Everything is right now. So if I think about, I want to be, let's say I'm in spirit, I want to see my children who are still here. All I need to do is think about them, and I'm connected with them. So it's kind of a cool thing. You really have to know how to use that ability when you when you lose your physical body because what you think about, you create. And we all hear that. I mean, that was like the new age uh, cliche. What you think about, you become. What you think about, you create your own life. And it is true, but here it happens much more slowly. In the spirit world, it happens instantaneously.
Where is the spirit world?
Right here, right here. It's a matter of it's like radio, it's like television, it's like the internet. It's always up, but you have to tune into it in order to perceive it. So it's not a place per se. It's a frequency. You've probably heard the word. A lot of people use vibration. I like to say frequency because it's like tuning in a radio. Um, and until you do that, you don't receive the signal. So it's all around us. It's right here.
So where's heaven then?
Well, that is the same word. A lot of people say heaven when they mean the spirit world. So it's the same thing. It's the very same thing.
Because, I mean, the image of heaven that people have is that there is this big cloud in the sky that we all kind of ride together and ride the wave of everything that's going on. With angels with harps and, Freddie Mercury blasting on stage and a good game of hockey at the local rink and a nice fishing hole that's stacked with fish, or whatever your fancy is. I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking, and maybe I'm projecting my own thoughts on that. I could be a little biased there, Carole, but either way, many people believe it's way up in the sky somewhere, and you're saying it's all around us at the same time.
That's correct. And again, because our rational mind thinks in a linear fashion, that's why people perceive it as a geographical location, I think. When really consciousness is what leaves the body at the point of death. Now, consciousness also leaves when we're dreaming or when we're sleeping. The difference is the silver cord isn't attaching that consciousness to the physical body. At the moment of death, that silver cord is no longer there. It dissolves. It actually starts dissolving sometimes, 3 days to who knows, a week beforehand, before death. I believe that's why some people perceive their own death. They can foretell that. Um, so yeah, the only difference between sleeping and dying is that it's permanent. I mean, we're leaving the body for good.
What happens when we die?
In my set, you had mentioned a couple of my books. I've written 5 books at this point, and there's a whole chapter in my second book called The book is called "I'm Still With You: True Stories of Healing Grief Through Spirit Communication." And the title of the chapter on death is called "Death: A Beginning." That is what I titled that chapter, because it is a rebirth of our soul back home. And you've probably heard the stories, people going through the tunnel of light and meeting deceased relatives, maybe meeting spirit guides, those souls who help us. I call them my spirit team. Most people have a primary spirit guide. And so they're there to help us too upon transition. And so it's actually a beautiful experience unless you are going to the lower realms because of the consciousness that you have at the time of death. You see, because the consciousness that we're holding at the time of death is where we're going to go in the spirit world because of the law of like attracting like energies attract other similar or identical energies. So if we were, say, a Hitler or a Jeffrey Dahmer or a Ted Bundy or any number of criminals or murderers in our history, we're definitely not going to go to the upper realms of the spirit world. We're going to go to the lower ones, which in vibration or frequency are much closer to the earth. And they're also dark in terms of light. They're much darker than the higher realms, which are full of light.
I find it very, very intriguing because you mentioned something like when people pass away, a lot of times beforehand, they have that experience with other people, being in the room, conversations, or reaching up towards somebody, like touching an angel, or somebody, a loved one is raising their hands down to them, and they're raising up their hands to try and pick them away. I've witnessed that twice. And the last time was 2 years ago when my mother was having a conversation with my deceased nephew. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I could feel his energy in the room. I knew he was there. And just listening to my mother talk to him and be so matter of fact that she was having that conversation. With 3 minutes to go before we go to break, how do we know that that's just not a mind trip as the body is shutting down, and that it is an actual communication from a loved one on the other side?
I think the answer to that are the numerous individuals who have had near-death experiences. And, there's many, many people who actually clinically died, but were either resuscitated or their consciousness for some reason came back. And what they describe is strikingly similar. And they also talk about floating above the body, looking down, knowing things that they would never be able to know. If somebody, for example, dies during a surgery, but then they're revived and they're able to give very specific details about the room, about the surgeon, about the surgery. Um, those sorts of accounts. And this is pretty popular right now in a lot of podcasts I've been seeing are near-death experiences. So I give those a lot of credence with people.
Why do you think it's become such a popular topic? Are people scared? Are they just looking for hope because there's not a lot of hope around? I mean, you live in the United States. I live in Canada. In my opinion, we live in two of the greatest countries on this planet. And everybody in our countries is struggling right now, or nearly everybody, one way or another, whether it's mentally, whether it's financially, whether it's, with food or shelter or something along those lines. And yet I think a lot of people might be looking up and just saying, I need some hope. I need some hope. It can't be
Yeah.
this bad or this hard. And yet it is.
Well, what you just said, Dave, is exactly why I wrote The Art of Sensing, to give people hope that there is a way out of. The subtitle of the book is paying attention to your soul's journey through challenging times. And certainly all of us are in challenging times right now. So there is hope. And, there is a way out of the trap that we seemingly are in.
Yeah, that trap sucks. I'm just going to tell you right now. It's not a
It
fun trap.
does.
I'm very open about my suffering from depression and anxiety. And I know the darkness that people could feel. It's not a lot of fun. But you know what? The one thing that doing this show on a nightly basis does for me, Carole, is it gives me hope. It allows me to end every day on a positive note because this is what I love to do. And when you love something, it's very easy to forget about the darkness. We
You're
have
exactly
Carole
right.
Obley here on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to go to our first break of the night. We're going to get into the sixth sense when we return. What is it? Do we all have it? Should we learn to use it? Oh, it's going to be an interesting next half hour on the show. Stay tuned on the mighty SOR. Lovely start. Lovely start, Carole.
Good. Good.
Let's say hello to Jerence Carter. And everybody, if you're in our chat room tonight, wherever you're listening, Dirty Filth has his inaugural cartoon show tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. if you're on the East Coast, 6:30 in Newfoundland, because they need an extra half hour, them Newfies. They do. I don't know what that translates to Australia, and it's 8 hours for Great Britain. Yeah, that's all I know. Anyways, have some fun. Check it out right here on our Spaced Out Radio channel. Dirty Filth and his dirty cartoons happen every Saturday, starting tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon. Mr. Cowley, how you doing, buddy? Jerence Carter, nice to see you. We'll get to your questions in hour 2. B. Arthur, nice to see you. Yes. My first time ever hearing Carole. Fascinating guest. She's amazing. You know what I love about you, Carole? You are very direct. You're very direct. You're so confident in your answers. You're very direct. And I have a friend of mine named Samantha Mowat who is exactly like you. Just very pointed and direct. Like when she gets an answer, she's 100% confident about that answer. You are very much the same way, and I just adore you for that. I think it's awesome.
You. Thank you.
Yeah. Choosy Heretics, how are you? Good to see you. Bobbert, nice to have you here. Yes, Superman is Canadian. Yep. It's true. Superman is Canadian. So is basketball, baseball. Yeah, a few others. Human Carl is here, everybody, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. We love you, Human Carl, and thank you for your service. Scott Rosen, how you doing? Seymour, nice to have you here. We got about 2.5 minutes. All right. Jackie? Oh, look at that. Jackie's new here. Hello, Jackie. Welcome to SOR Chat. Yeah, come join the club. See, we don't all look like a bunch of weirdos. There's no tinfoil here. Candace, thank you for that lovely super chat. Greatly appreciate your love of SOR, Candace. Thank you. About a minute and a half, Carole.
I realized I didn't have a copy of the book near me. So hold up. So that's what I was doing, going to get that.
Wait until we come back from the radio side, so that way the radio side can learn where to enter or find it too, okay?
Sure.
Tartar Sauce says they should do a Golden Girls remix called Golden Guys. Well, Brett Thomas from Paranormal Portal, he is already B. Arthur. That guy looks like B. Arthur with a mustache. If you put a mustache on B. Arthur, that's what Brett Thomas looks like. So, he's B. Arthur. Leacham, how you doing? Carole, Amanda in the chat room thinks you're beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Amanda. Unfortunately, I don't look too good on StreamYard's cameras, but thank you very much
I
anyway.
think you're stunning personally. All right. Thank you to Kitty Caddywhack, B. Arthur, T-Bone, and Candace for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love. Here we go. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you for tuning us in. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to get into The Sixth Sense with Carole Obley momentarily. But first, want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here's Carole Obley. We are talking about The Sixth Sense tonight. She's got some great books out that you can find on our website and on Amazon. Carole, thank you so much for being here. I want to ask you this right off the bat. Out of all the books you've written, what's your favorite?
Probably the second one. It's very near and dear to my heart, and that is I'm Still With You. It's the book with two hands on the front, one coming down from heaven and one reaching up from underneath that. I was trying to get a publisher at that time. I wrote a book before then, which has a lot of metaphysical information in it. It's called Embracing the Ties That Bind. All of these are on Amazon and, on my website. The reason I love I'm Still With You is because all of my books are true experiences. There's no embellishments in them. As far as the readings I have done for people from all walks of life, all over the United States, other countries, that I transcribed. This probably dates me, Dave. I sat with headsets on and transcribed from cassette tapes. That's how I wrote I'm Still With You, which was published in 2008. And so I sat there and I would stop and start the cassette and I would be typing the dialogue in the reading. And, the impressions that I got for that recipient of the reading. And then I also did sort of a follow-up with that person about how the reading helped them. And so I kind of felt like a spiritual reporter when I was doing that. I'm Still With You. And it took a year to get a publisher. I had a lot of rejections. And that's very common for authors to have rejections. You got to have kind of a thick skin. And I'll never forget, I won't mention the name of the publisher, but I was very close to being published, accepted by them. And then one day I get my manuscript back. This was before sending it in, Word documents through the internet. I get my book back, and it had coffee stains on it with a rejection letter. And I'm like, oh man, but it wasn't meant to be. So it was about a year. And interestingly, that book has it's become a bestseller of my publisher, which is Collective Inc. And I wrote it to help people. That's why I write all of the books. I always say, don't quit your day job if you're going to be a writer. Because unless you have a big national platform, you're not going to make a whole lot of money doing, selling books. So it's sort of a labor of love. I mean, writing a book it's very time consuming. And then you have after that the promotion of it. So you're talking about 3 years out of your life for one book, if you're doing it correctly.
The Sixth Sense is something that I came into contact with when I was 38 years old. And for many people, they get it early in life, some when they're still toddlers, others when they're older in life. Why the age disparity between, say, somebody who is in tune since childhood and others who don't get it, like yourself or myself, until we're much older?
It depends on the awakening. And I mean that in the truest sense, awakening to becoming aware that you are more than your brain, that you are more than your physical body, that you have something beyond your personality. We all have a personality. That's what makes us unique. Of course, we all have physical bodies, we all have a brain. Um, but there are many people walking around out there that do not know themselves as spirit. And the sixth sense is in the realm of spirit. So to become aware of that, you have to sort of awaken to that. Many people have, people, I think people understand intuition and that they've experienced it, but they don't maybe label it as such. We've all have had gut feelings about things. We can't point to something external and say, here's the proof, here's the reason why. But I just feel this way. I'm feeling as if this is going to happen. Or I walk into a room and I feel good in that room, or maybe I feel bad or negative in that room. Or we meet somebody and we've never met them before, but we don't feel comfortable around them. That's intuition. That's the sixth sense. And it operates in everybody, but a lot of people end up distrusting it. That's probably the number one obstacle, is lack of trust. And then, I've talked to many people, they kick themselves afterwards. They said, I should have listened to my gut. I should have listened to, the feelings that I had. So, intuition, you're not going to be able to really point to external facts that are going to validate it, at least not at the time that you receive it. Afterwards, you might be able to, because then the event or whatever the circumstance happens. But at the time that we're receiving beyond the five physical senses, um, it can be frightening for some people. It can be mind blowing. It can be a spiritual awakening. It can be many different things. In the art of sensing, I wrote more about, not so much mundane intuition or everyday intuition, which is valid in its own right, but I wrote about spiritual intuition. And it's for the reason that you said, Dave, that there are so many people, especially young people, I've observed over, well, even before COVID, that are suffering from anxiety, they're suffering from depression. They have no idea what their life purpose is, why they're here. Um, all of that is a lack of connection with the internal, and I give these names, the internal landscape, the inner landscape, which is the soul and intuition. The outer landscape is everything except that. So, going inward, and one of the ways, a simple way that people can learn to develop this, and I write about this in The Art of Sensing, is to get still. We live in a world where we're inundated with information, we're inundated with, you know, so much data between the internet and phones and television, and now we have AI coming in. So people are really overwhelmed, I believe, and people then become very confused. So it's important that we disconnect from that. I would say daily, to make time, carve out time to be still.
One of the things about learning my intuition was how it hit me really hard. And I've talked to other people about this. I mean, all of a sudden you go from, living a regular life to all of a sudden seeing things and hearing things and having things move. Your intuition seems to pick up with lightning speed. You don't trust it, but you still go through the emotions of it all. Did I really see that? Was that really a person standing on my right? I turned my head and there's nothing there. I mean, there's always something going on when you have it. Why does it seem to just, kick you right in the stomach and say, let's go. We're doing this. It doesn't seem to just let you smoothly ease in.
Well, it depends on what we're intuiting. Um, I know in my life, I've had, before I was even a professional medium, I would get uh, a sense about people, about events. And, I'm a student of, I offer astrology readings as well. I've studied astrology for many, many years. And I actually do this thing called a karmic astrology reading where I use the birth chart of somebody, and it's a map of the soul. You can look right there and see even past lives, skills, talents, challenges. The reason I'm mentioning this is because when I first started studying my birth chart, I could see right there, once I learned the meanings of the planets and how they were connected and what houses they were in the chart. Houses simply mean areas of our life. There are 12 of them, just as there are 12 astrological signs. I saw in my chart that I was born with a predisposition of sensitivity to do this work. So, but it didn't hit me in the frequency that I'm in now. I've also done many years of training, taken training, to hone my mediumship skills. But every human being, you don't have to be a professional medium to have intuition. And it's a matter of um, opening it and then importantly trusting it. And I think what you're saying is sometimes, yeah, it does hit us over the head, or we get that gut feeling. By the way, do you know why we call it a gut feeling? We call it a gut feeling because there's an energy center. These are also called the chakra. Chakra is from Sanskrit and it means spinning wheel. That's what that means. But there's an energy center in our stomach area, right there in the solar plexus. And that is where everybody, not just me, but everybody takes in energy from the outside world. And we sort of exchange energy there. And if I know people that they'll say, I get a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach when I'm around somebody or whatever. That's that energy center that is picking up or sensing a non-physical reality. And that's basically what intuition is.
How do we train it? How do we exercise it to get it more clearer, pardon me, or to just be able to trust it?
Through practice. Through practice. And that's by sitting in stillness. I'm not talking about going off and meditating, on a satin pillow for an hour every day. I did that in the beginning. Well, not the satin pillow, but I would lie down right after supper and, put my headsets on, and I would meditate for the full hour. Well, I started drifting, instead of really just going away from my mind, which is the purpose of meditation, not to stop thoughts, but to transcend them. And so now what I do is I do maybe 5 minutes of stillness. And it's very simple. A child can do it. I have this in the art of sensing. There are exercises in every chapter to help people. You sit quietly and you just focus on your breath. Say that you have anxiety that comes up, you have fear that comes up, confusion. You can sit quietly, close your eyes as long as you're not driving, and put your attention on your breath. Follow it as it comes into the body and then as it exits. And what you will find is the more that you do that, that uh, stillness connects you with the essence of who you truly are. And that is your soul. That's where intuition comes from. Intuition is the voice of the soul. And the other thing about it we didn't mention was that our intuition can be a protective mechanism. It can alert us to danger. Maybe we get in the car and we start driving and we start feeling off, or we shouldn't go down a certain road or whatever. So it can actually function to save our lives or protect us.
I love the fact that you have the time to do that, because a lot of people today don't have time. A lot of people want to rush things. They want to make sure it happens yesterday rather than 5 months from now. I mean, how do you get people to calm down, to meditate on it, to relax and allow it to happen?
You have to carve out the time. 5 minutes. Come on, that's not a lot of time. 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, 5 minutes before you go to bed. Or do what I do. I put headsets on when I'm going to sleep at night. And they're the hemisync things, with the different tones and so forth. The one I use is for deep sleep because I've had problems with sleeping. But there are many, many that you can get. So you to improve the quality of your life, make time to do that. That's one of the things what you said about we live in a world now that everybody wants everything instantaneous, instant gratification, and spiritual development and certainly mediumship takes years. I'm not talking about opening intuition now. I'm talking about developing spiritually, and in my field, mediumship. I've been dismayed over the past decade or so of everybody's a medium now. And I see, oh, I'm a medium, I'm a medium. Well, how much training have you taken? How many years have you
Oh
been at
yeah.
it? Because it's not an overnight thing. It really takes years to be self confident enough to, give a professional reading to somebody. So I would say that, I'm using that as an example. Um, this is not for everybody to become a psychic or a medium or whatever. It's so that you can live a better life. That's the reason to develop spiritually. And intuition is part of that. Yeah,
You
there's
know,
no end goal.
right. It's funny that you say that, because I've had a couple other intuitives tell me that as well on this show while we've been in interviewing them about it. And it reminds me of this one experience, probably about 5-6 years ago. I had this lady come into my chat room, and she was interested in all the psychic shows that we did at the time. We didn't do a lot, but we still did some. And within 4 months, here she is on Facebook asking people, claiming that she is this lifelong psychic who is doing now psychic readings, where in our chat room, she was like, I want to be intuitive. I want to get in touch with my intuition. And in 4 months, she was giving readings. Do you think most people believe, even though they're really into the subject, they're captivated by it, they are, they're all in, after 4 months or even 6 months, are they ready to be tackling other people's issues with or questions with their intuition?
In my opinion, no. No. I can tell you about when I first started 30 years ago, and the when I look back of the depth and quality of readings that I'm doing now compared to, oh my gosh, even the first decade, it's like day and night. There's so much more depth now and clarity and clarity. And it's not so that I can be known as the world's best medium. That's not the reason. It's so that I can provide more evidence to people for, of their loved one, so that they know beyond a doubt that's their loved one, you know? Um, that's not all I do, though. I mean, I also do a lot of life guidance, more on the psychic level. Life guidance readings, career, finance, relationships, situations, circumstances in life. I've had business people consult with me. I've had doctors consult with me. So, it really takes a lot of experience to understand and to differentiate between your personal thoughts and the mind of spirit. And until you have that over and over and over again, where you can recognize it right away, what you're feeling, what you're sensing, and I'm talking now about giving readings, not intuition. You really shouldn't be doing readings because you can harm people.
I would agree with that. I would totally agree with that. We got about 95 seconds before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Author, intuitive, Carole Obley is here. We're talking about the sixth sense. In the next hour, we're going to get into ESP and everything about communication. What's the funniest communication that a ghost has ever approached you on and just made a comment and just kind of made you go, huh? Really? You said that? And it made you laugh.
Well, I can tell you that they do have a sense of humor in the spirit world. I'll have to think about that. There's been so many, um, but probably, people who come through with the personality that they had. If they were a jokester in life, that will come up when they come back into this level of consciousness, from the higher level in the spirit world. People who were clowns or funny people, when they were here in a physical body. I've had that happen, absolutely. Because the personality is, I will get a sense of it when I'm doing readings.
What does it feel like?
It's a sensing that, somebody walked into a room and they're the type of guy that's going to wear a lampshade on their head at a party. I will get that sense that they were jovial, they were joking, they were upbeat. So it's sensing. It's called clairsentience.
I love it. I can't wait to go hour number 2 with you. Carole Obley is here on Spaced Out Radio. We're having a great time talking about the sixth sense. When we return, how do we tap into it? How do we communicate with spirit? Should we even try? Many say we shouldn't. Leave them alone, they say. We'll find out what we should do with Carole in hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio.
This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
Carole, we're going to take a little bit of a break here. We got about 6 minutes. I'm just going to put you back in the green room, and I'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
So much fun tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Be right back. We got about 35 seconds left. Let's bring Carole in here. Big thank you tonight to T-Bone, B. Arthur, Candy, and Kitty Caddywhack for the wonderful super chats. We greatly appreciate the love and support. If you're wanting to ask Carole any questions, do me a favor, put them in capital letters. We will get to your questions in hour number 2. And we're coming back in 5 seconds. Here comes hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Should we communicate with spirits? Our guest Carole Obley will join us momentarily. But first, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and join us on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Gigantomachy. Gigantomachy is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's go to our guest tonight, Carole Obley. You can find her website as well as her books on Amazon. She is an amazing, intuitive, very matter-of-fact, and that's what I love about her, is the fact that she is 100% behind what she says. And Carole, we're so glad to have you here tonight on the show.
Great to be here, Dave. Thank you.
The big question that I have for you is, should we try and communicate with those on the other side? Many people believe that we shouldn't because we never know who we're actually talking to. But others say, you know what? If you're maybe hurt, you're sad, you're lonely, you can always talk to your other side, whether it's your guides or family members and loved ones who passed on. Is this something we should do?
I always say mediumship is not for everybody, but it is for some people who are seeking healing, who are seeking comfort, who are seeking assurance that life continues on. And it's not just, I think one facet of mediumship that is often overlooked or not talked about is that it's not only about connecting people, being the bridge, the medium being the bridge to help, connect people between the living and the people in the spirit world. It's also about giving some sort of model or validation to help people know that they are an eternal soul, that their consciousness will go on after leaving here. And, I don't hear a lot of people talking about that, but it can actually, good, genuine mediumship can provide that for people. Not only that it's all well and good, the evidence given and, the uncanny little psychic things that are given in a reading. But the spiritual component of it is something I have always been interested in embracing, because without spirit, without the spiritual component, it's just something that's happening, So if you believe or you feel that giving comfort, reassurance, and healing to people is wrong, then I would say, no, mediumship is not for you. In all the years I've been doing readings, I have never connected with an entity, a soul who is highly negative or, producing evil phenomena. That has never happened to me. And again, I don't put that out. So I'm not going to attract it. And I am very spiritually centered. You have to be. When you're doing this work, if you don't do your own inner work, and I've seen this happen with mediums, um, you get very off center. You can take in other people's stuff, their emotions, and you become essentially, you can become ill and you can become ineffective as the communicating link. Um, so you always have to do your own inner work, and you have to lead a very balanced life. I found that out. I found that out the hard way, that
What
you
happened?
have to remain balanced. Um, if I felt that I was doing something wrong, I certainly would not be doing it. I'm a highly ethical individual. And that's the other point of mediumship. You must employ high ethics. You must. Because if you don't, I will tell you, you will not last long in this field. Um,
Well, let's talk about that. How do we know? Okay, let's say someone has a parent on the other side, a mother or father, and they miss that person dearly, and there they are praying to them and trying to get some sort of message back from them. How do we know it's actually that person that is talking to us and not some sort of trickster spirit that's playing the role?
I assume you're referring to during a reading, correct? Is that what you're
Yes.
asking?
Or let's just say I'm sitting alone and I want to contact my mom. How do I know if I start communication that is my mom or a trickster spirit playing the role of my mom?
Well, obviously, I mean, if that's your mother, you know what your mother's characteristics were. Sometimes, people will get, and not mediums, I'm talking about just, an average person will get what's called clairalience, and that would be scent. That's scent, smelling through the spiritual sense. And, a familiar perfume, an aftershave, maybe somebody smokes cigarettes, they'll smell cigarette smoke, maybe a particular thing, maybe coffee if the person was an that actually happened to me, coffee drinker. It's through the familiarity, but importantly, in the example that you gave, it's through the bond of love. You don't have a bond of love with a trickster, but you would most likely have a bond of love with your own mother. So it's through that bond that is eternal and never exterminated through death that we are able to feel the presence of that individual with us. Now, I'm talking about your example, like you're sitting alone and you want to feel your mother. Um, you would, and I actually developed a workshop on that. I taught at Lilydale, New York, which is actually near Canada. And it's about an hour beyond Erie, Pennsylvania, and near Buffalo, New York. I've taught many times at Lilydale. It's a spiritualist community. And one of the things that I taught was writing a letter to a loved one, because people in the spirit world, our loved ones, know our thoughts. This is why when people schedule readings with me, I ask them to prepare with written questions. I don't ask those questions. In fact, at the beginning of a reading, I don't even ask who they want to connect with. A genuine medium should not be doing that. You should be sensing. Now, is that person always going to come through? Automatically? No. But I would say in the readings that I've done, 90 to 95% of the time, who the recipient wants will show up. I also ask them to prepare ahead of time through making a spiritual connection, prayer, meditation, stillness, mindfulness. So that really enhances the communication. And as far as a reading is concerned, you would know by the evidence given from the medium.
I always worry about people trying to communicate and not knowing who they're talking to. You know, a lot of people don't use their mind. They use tarot cards. Maybe they've never used tarot cards before, or a Ouija board, or pendulums, or dowsing rods, whatever it may be. Are these gateways to the dark side, or is it possible to get good spirit comment from these tools?
Well, I agree with you about, I personally, and I'm very experienced at sensing energy, I would never use a Ouija board. And I advise people not to do that because the average person does not have enough discernment to know who is communicating. That's why you shouldn't fool around with them. I've done years and years ago, I did a couple of readings from a space I was reading in. And the people said to me, can you tell me what to do? I have a spirit in my house and I can't get rid of them. And I said, did you fool around with the Ouija board? And the person said, yeah, I did. And I said, don't do that anymore. And then I gave them some instructions on what might help. But yeah, the average person really does not have enough discernment to be able to know who's manipulating the board or, who's speaking. I honestly, I use the tarot quite frequently. I use it as a tool. The tarot is actually very spiritually oriented. I know that it's been demonized, particularly by the Catholic Church. There is nothing whatsoever demonic or evil about the tarot. It's actually depicting in pictures, um, and in the symbolism on it, the journey of the soul from birth through death. That's what the tarot really is. It started out in the Middle Ages. It was a game, and a lot of peasants. This was in Europe, played with the cards, and then it became a divination tool. And that's when the church became involved because they didn't want anyone interfering with their power. So I don't look on the tarot as being negative. Should you be obsessed with anything? No. No, obsession is not good. And I personally, I would not use a Ouija board, nor would I go. I've been asked to do walkthroughs in prisons to pick up, what type of energy is there. I won't do those. I don't want to go into, there's a lot of very, very low on the frequency scale of energy. There's a lot of very low dense energy in, say, like a prison. Sometimes in a mental institution, because in the old days, and I found this out by watching some documentaries, the treatment of the mentally ill was horrendous, what they did to people. Just I have the utmost compassion for people who suffer from mental illness. And in the old days, they just thought the person was either possessed or, they didn't deserve to be treated like a decent human being. So there can be a lot of fear that you can pick up. You can actually pick up attachments from these places. You should not do that lightly or even for fun.
What about people who are seeking the darker side of the arts? They don't care who they talk to. They just want to have that spiritual haunted rush.
Well, again, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. Interestingly, sometimes, and I don't watch these shows, but sometimes the shows on TV, that they have the investigators that go and they have their equipment and their, the whistles, bells and whistles to pick up spirit activity and all that sort of thing. Sometimes what they discover is, and what I've observed, that the inhabitants of the house or the place that they're investigating are actually keeping that entity there through their own imbalance, their own curiosity, their own, I think this is really cool. I want to keep it going, that sort of thing. Now, I'm not saying everybody by any means, but they should investigate the people who live in the houses, maybe rather than the spirits. Um, my concept of haunted places, it's much like a tape recorder. There's a replay in the ethers of that environment. That's what's really going on. Especially where there's been very strong emotions, it makes an imprint on the atmosphere, on the ethers of that environment, and so it can become trapped there. That's why you'll hear about battlefields and so forth being, haunted. And here in Pennsylvania, we have Gettysburg. A lot of people have written about it and they've experienced and have seen the soldiers there. What they're seeing really is not the souls of those people. What they're perceiving is the replay of very strong emotion, which has made an imprint on the ethers.
What's your thoughts then on people who ghost hunt?
I think it's interesting. Um, I've actually done walkthroughs for people. I've told them where to point the camera to get some type of phenomena, orbs on their camera, and it's, nothing is showing. I'm seeing this through clairvoyance, but then lo and behold, when they look at the photograph, that there's orbs that have showed up there where I pointed, that there was a spirit there. So I think it's interesting. It's not my forte. I'm much more interested in helping people to heal and develop spiritually. But I think a lot of facts have been uncovered about, and I think that as we go on in time, that we're going to learn more and more how these phenomena are imprinted upon the environment of places. So it does have value.
I always wonder about it because I find when I've gone ghost hunting, during the night, if I'm in an area that is very haunted, I end up feeling very lethargic. I feel tired, maybe a little dopey. My shoulders feel heavy. My neck feels heavy. What's with that energy pattern and what is it?
It could be that it's hard to say, but you could be picking up some of, if it's very dense vibration or negative, let's say, or fear based. What you're describing to me is sort of a very heavy, tiring type of energy. And to me, that would be something that's fear based. Fear is created by the mind. That is not the natural state of our spirit. The soul always exists in harmony and balance. It's the mind that creates fear. All fear emanates from our own mind. So it feels to me as if what you're describing is something that's very fear based. You might even be picking up the emotions of the people on the team, too.
Is it the heaviness of the spirits themselves that maybe they're locked here?
Well, I don't believe that anybody becomes locked. I think that there's been a lot of psychics or mediums who promote that idea. But the soul always has free will. And there is a choice that that soul is making to stay connected to the earth. And usually it's because of a strong emotional attachment that that occurs. I'll give you an example. And this totally took me by surprise. Maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, I went to lunch with a couple of friends, and it was not in my immediate area. And we came out of lunch and we looked across the street, and there was an antique store there. And so we weren't ready to part yet. And I said, let's go look at the antiques. I've always loved antiques and, older collectible things. So we went in there, and it was one of these places where there were the little cubicles that different vendors had with their wares. So I was back there and I was in one of the cubicles and I picked up an item and I was looking at it, and I turned around, and all of a sudden, through clairvoyance, through my inner viewing screen, I saw a man, maybe, I don't know, in his late 30s, maybe 40s, sitting in front of this cubicle, very dejected. That was his demeanor. He had his head in his hands, and very depressed looking. And I looked again, and I said, to my one friend, there's a man sitting over there in spirit. I think that these were his belongings, that were being sold, and he was still attached to these things or what they meant to him. And so, I wasn't even thinking about anything paranormal at that time. I was interested in the objects that were there and, what was of interest. And this man showed up. He obviously he had probably been there for quite some time. And so I asked the woman who ran this place, and she wasn't a really nice person. So I didn't want to talk to her too much, but I said, can I ask you where you get these items from or whatever? And she goes, I see them when I'm out driving, and that one over there. And she points to where this guy was. It was from an old barn. It was a part, the wood from a barn. And so I wondered, maybe that was this gentleman's home, that he was still very emotionally attached to. But it was quite uncanny because I wasn't trying to tune into anything. It just happened. Spirit is around us all the time, all the time. And people who do not believe in life after death, or people who do not tune into the spirit world, am I constantly tuned into it? Absolutely not. I don't go into a grocery store and see spirits. I don't go through a drive-through
Right.
window. Some people think that.
I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. When we return with Carole Obley, we're going to get to some audience questions. Stay tuned. Second half is next.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, Carole, we are clear. That portion was excellent. Excellent.
I'm very spontaneous in interviews. I try to follow the host as much as I can.
We're doing
So,
okay for you?
sure. Yeah, very good.
Awesome.
I'm excited to put this on my website too. The link.
That'll be good. It
So,
shall be good.
I assume that you have regular people who listen to you every. You said you're on every night. Is this just the paranormal night, Fridays, or
Tonight's a spiritual night, um, but we usually do a lot more UFO and cryptid type
mhm,
conversation. But I like to
mhm,
mix it up because I am interested in all the topics.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
it,
I got into UFOs, Dave, when I was about 8 years old. I read a book. I think it's still out there. The heck was the name of it? Oh, Flying Saucers, Serious Business. And it was by L. Frank Edwards, I believe is the gentleman's name. And there, he had photographs in there. They were black and white photographs. And this was back in the 60s, my goodness. And it was actually my brother's book. And I I was just fascinated. The other thing I was really interested in was like the Bermuda Triangle and, all the missing ships and airplanes and everything that have gone down there. And we have around my area, like within driving, like 15 minutes from me, is Stan Gordon, who does a lot on Bigfoot and
yes,
UFOs.
Stan Gordon is amazing.
Yeah, I have talked to him numerous times. He lives like honestly, it's like 15, 20 minutes from me. I mean, he's from Greensburg, Pennsylvania. So that's very close to where I'm at. And this guy was into this. My goodness, he started things back with the uh in 1963, I believe. And why am I forgetting the name of the town? They still haven't told us what the thing was that came down. It was an acorn shaped thing. And
Is that the one in Kecksburg?
Kecksburg, why couldn't I think of that? They bottled Coca Cola there. And yeah, it was a big bot. I don't know if they still do that or not, but the Kecksburg UFO, he's kind of become known as an expert on that.
Oh yeah. Stan Gordon has fantastic hair too. His hair never moves. He's like Captain Kirk.
I never noticed that about him, but I've gone to hear him speak so many times. And I'll never forget, I have gotten these things called night terrors, and I got those when I started getting them when I was in my 20s. And he was doing an exhibit. This was in the early 80s. And I went up and I talked to him. I said, "Stan, have you ever heard of night terrors?" And he goes, "Oh yeah." He says the old hag thing or whatever, and he knew all about it. So it was kind of interesting. He's an interesting guy.
There's so many great cryptid researchers and UFO researchers in Pennsylvania. It's unbelievable how
Is
good
that
they are.
right?
Oh yeah.
Hmm. I never thought about that, but yeah, he has a DVD out too on the Kecksburg thing.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Oh
those
yeah.
people that live there, they're very rural. A lot of them are farmers. They're very down to earth people. And he interviewed some of them. They all said the same thing. Like where something landed here. Tell us what it was. But the military took it away on a flatbed truck, and that was the end of that.
True. Very true. I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we're going to come back in about 25 seconds. I want to say a big thank you tonight to T-Bone Candy, B. Arthur, and Kitty Caddywhack for this super chats tonight. Greatly appreciate the love and support. To all our new listeners, thank you so much for adding to the spice of this show. Adam, thank you for the super chat as well. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much for the love. And shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Here we go. We're already at the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for choosing us for you to listen to, because we know you need that fix of the weird and strange, and by golly, we're here to provide it for you. Want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Final time tonight, we introduce author, researcher Carole Obley. You can find her books on Amazon. We're going to get to some audience questions here because we always like to get the audience involved. Carole, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
It's been so much fun. So much fun. And I want to start off with I love this question by Nikki in Seattle. Nikki is a fellow intuitive as well. And she is asking, do you believe you may have been an abductee as well?
No, I have not had that experience. However, the only experience I've really had with what what I think or felt was extraterrestrial was a dream, which may have actually been an out-of-body experience. And I believe it was with the Pleiadians, based on the experience that particular, I don't know, race that I guess you would call them. Very tall, blonde hair, almost white hair individuals. And that was many, many years ago. But Dave and I were talking through the break, and I've been interested in UFOs since I've been about 7 or 8 years old. Started reading books on them then. But I would be terrified, I think, if I was an abductee.
Let's move over to another question. Let's go to Jules here. My dream visitations from loved ones have been in various places. One park-like, another like in a waiting room, another in a country lane. Is this normal?
Oh, I love that. They sound like very beautiful places, especially the ones outdoors. Yes, because you have to understand the spirit world is very similar to the earth. I mean, there are green meadows, there are flowers, there are gardens. I have seen these through countless readings. I'm very grateful and blessed that I have, developed to the point that I can see these places that are there for us. And I would say that you're visiting in one of those very beautiful places. So good for you. I never have stuff like that happen to me, Dave. I wish it did. But I sort of get my messages when I'm walking around. I have had some very interesting experiences, though. If maybe we'll have time in the next 20 minutes or so to talk about that. But yeah, I have had very interesting experiences with the spirit world.
Well, tell us now. What's one of those cool experiences?
Oh my. Well, the first one was actually I lived in a different house that I'm living in now. And unbeknownst to me, when I moved into this place, and it was an older place, it was probably built in, I don't know, the 1920s or something. One night I was standing, and it was early, it was like 8 o'clock at night. I was standing at the bathroom sink brushing my teeth. All of a sudden, what comes out of the wall but a huge cloud of ectoplasm? Ectoplasm meaning, for those who don't know, it looks like smoke. And I'm standing there in the bathroom, and I have my toothbrush, and I kind of took about, I don't know how many steps backwards because it was so startling. I just stood there and watched it, and then it dissipated. It went back into the wall. And that wasn't the only experience with that particular spirit. He would kind of appear as smoke rings too, especially when I would be alone in the house. I had a roommate at the time. I remember one time I was just standing there watching television. I was actually pressing clothes, and out of the corner of my eye, I see this thing float by, and I'm like, "What the heck is that?" I thought maybe because there was a shaft of sunlight coming through, that maybe it was like a hair that was, showing up in that sunlight, but it wasn't. It went by me, and it was a smoke ring. And the same entity would also produce um, scent, cigarette smoke, and whiskey. And nobody was smoking at the time, and nobody was drinking. Um, so he was kind of frightening. He didn't do anything bad. That's just one experience. I've also had uh, a dream visitation with my grandmother who passed. I was still in college, 1977. She passed over. I loved her dearly. I was her only granddaughter. She loved me. About 15 years ago, I had what is called a dream visitation. That's an actual connection between souls, one in the spirit world or more, one or more in the spirit world, and a person here who's asleep. And it's an actual meeting of those souls. And it feels like the person is actually there with you. And the takeaway that I had from that visitation with my grandmother, I wrote about it in my third book that's called Soul to Soul Connections. It was an overwhelming love. I have never experienced love, what I felt in that connection with my grandmother, um, who had been over there for quite some time when this occurred. But I've never experienced love like that. And I will never forget it. It was very real. And I laid there, tears were coming down. And I said to my spirit guides in my head, because I talk to them in my head all the time, I said, why did grandma's face look like that? Because her face kind of looked as if she was underwater, or it looked sort of like a watercolor painting. And I said, why did grandma look like that? And my guide said to me, she had to remember what she looked like when she was there. And so I believe that. I believe what my guide told me, because obviously, I mean, she hadn't been in her body for many years. So there's been a whole lot more, but I won't take up all the time talking about my kooky. They're not kooky; they were real, but very out of the ordinary experiences.
Let's go next to In the Studio. Says, what do you know about the ninth realm? I was there twice, and there were no clocks or mirrors. It was all free, and the days were like 4 to 4.5 hours long. It was an awesome time. And here I thought he was talking about Las Vegas until he said free.
You have a great sense of humor, Dave. That'll take you far. Um, I don't know about the ninth realm. I have no clue. But I will say this, there are many levels or planes. What's a plane as far as what we're talking about? It means a level of consciousness. That's what a plane is. So there are many planes in the spirit world, there are many levels. And as you ascend, as you go up on the levels, it becomes the energy becomes lighter, and the atmosphere becomes actually, I mean, lighter in terms of light, seeing light, like the sun. And you cannot go to those higher realms permanently, or after death, unless your consciousness is matching those realms. For example, the saints, would go to higher realms. The ascended masters, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, they would be on the higher levels. There's also the angelic realm, which is far above any other realms. So it really depends upon your consciousness where you end up. Most people upon death go to the mid realms. And in spiritualist literature, they're called the summer land because it's always summer there. It's always warm, it's sunny, there's a light breeze, the grass is green, there are flowers growing.
I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, let's move on to another one here. Let's go to Little Cam. Do you subscribe to the idea that we have hundreds of chakras?
I don't know how many we have, but certainly we have way more than the seven main chakra. For example, we have chakra in the our joints, the knees, shoulder, any place you'd have joint, the fingers, the palms of the hands. That's how hands-on healing, like Reiki healing, is transmitted. In the bottoms of our feet. Yes. So we definitely have more chakra than the seven main chakra. Why? Because the life force energy has to be distributed through, meaning spiritual energy that animates the physical body, has to be distributed throughout the body. And that's why we have many, many chakra. We also exchange energy with the outside world through those chakra.
And here I thought there were only 7. Learn something new every day.
Yeah, well, they're the seven major, in Hinduism. That's where the idea came from. There have been clairvoyants who were very talented and they were able to see the chakra. Now, I do not see auras, I feel them, I sense them. But there have actually been clairvoyants who are able to see the spinning wheels. They're also have been able to see thought forms. For example, anger. It's kind of a jagged thought, form. Peacefulness, the colors in the aura. I mean, all of these are things, if you're tuned into energy, you can become sensitive to.
Let's move on to Christine. How can we have a reading with Ms. Carole? I'm curious to see if any relatives will give me a nice message.
My website is soulvisions.net. I'll say it again, soulvisions.net. And Dave, I don't know if you put this up with the show or in the description, but that's where they can get a hold of me. My number's right there. My office number's on the front page, the home page. And thank you for asking, Chris.
Let's move on. Let's go to Seymour. Are ghosts souls of the departed or just remnant information of their existence? I love this question.
Yeah, well, my opinion is that they are, and we spoke about this earlier, they're imprints on the etheric atmosphere of the earth. Human beings, we have an etheric body. What is that? It's a double. If you've ever seen of the physical body, okay, if you've ever seen Kirlian photography that was developed in Russia, I think that it was named after the scientists who discovered it. And I'll never forget this, seeing the image of a plant and they had cut one of the leaves off of this plant. But through Kirlian photography, you saw the outline, the white outline of that leaf. And it was the energy imprint. in the etheric body of that living plant. Now, we all have an etheric body, and there's such a thing as etheric healing, where the healer will actually correct an imbalance in the etheric body. See, when we're developing in the womb, the etheric body forms. That's when it's first formed. And yeah, I mean, DNA and cells and all of that definitely play a part. But there's also the fundamental energy, because that's what we are, is energy. So my theory of ghosts is an imprint left on the environment that plays over and over again. And as I said earlier, it's usually because there was a strong emotional imprint by that person that you're seeing being replayed there.
Do you think then that they choose to be here? Let's say you go to a museum and they're attached to a pair of glasses or a hairbrush or a rocking chair. Do you think that they are wanting to be here? They haven't transitioned on? Or do you think it's more that they love that object so much that their energy is stuck with it?
I don't know that I've seen it so much with objects, and I know the whole thing with haunted objects, and I've been on Coast to Coast many times with George Norton. He's had people on with haunted objects and so forth. What you're really sensing, I feel, is yeah, I mean, you're feeling an energy imprint in that object, and that's the idea behind psychometry. Where you can hold an object, a ring or a pendant or something that belonged to a person, and you can get information about them. That's personally not how I work, but it is how some people work. I'm a mental medium, so I work simply, with that. Do they want to be here? No, I would ask you this. If you had a choice between being in paradise or being here, what would you choose? Um, so the vast majority of people, once they know I'm not I'm not my body, I am spirit, and I'm able to continue on, because when we die, we look down on the body and we see the body, which was our vehicle for our soul. So most people are happy to be out of pain, if there was pain before death. Um, I had an experience. You asked about my experience. This is right in line with this. Um, right when I was falling asleep, I had this sort of a liberation from my body. Obviously, I didn't die. But I went to this space, and there was all of these geometrical forms there, very peculiar. Like triangles and squares and all this. And there were beings in these robes, and it was sort of ethereal. And I remember, and it was just like less than a minute I experienced this. And I remember feeling, this is who I really am. And I felt this sense of intense freedom. And then I was back. And it was so intense that it woke me up. And I'll never forget that, like just with my grandmother. Um, I remember that feeling of liberation, and just thinking, oh, this is what they were all talking about. This is who I really am. And so we become aware of that. Now, if a person didn't have any spiritual beliefs, if a person just never even thought about that, if they're very materialistic or atheistic, that this is it, this is the whole show right here. There's not an afterlife. That's a very hard adjustment for souls on the other side. I don't mean they go to hell or anything like that, but there has to be some kind of spiritual intervention from spirit guides helping spirits who help that soul to adjust and orientate to being without the body.
Mm-hmm. Let's go over to T-Bone. Are NDEs and seed aliens connected in your opinion?
I don't think so. I think those are two distinct phenomena. A near death experience, I'm assuming that's what this person's asking
Yeah.
about. Um, yeah, I mean, that's where your consciousness has left your body temporarily, obviously, or you wouldn't be coming back to talk about it. Aliens, my theory of aliens is, and I've always felt this, always, since I was a little girl, I felt this. They exist interdimensionally. And don't fool yourself. This is not the only reality. And I know a lot of you listening know that. My theory of UFOs is that they can take physical form. When they come into this density, they lower, somehow the atoms become very close together. And so they become dense. And that's when you see them. Otherwise, they're going to be like tuning into the spirit world. So they can become known when they want to be known. But that's always been my theory of them. And I believe that there is such a thing as interdimensional travel. And when people who are abducted, that's usually what they're experiencing.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I'm really surprised you don't have aliens. I'm really surprised by that, just out of curiosity. But let me go to another question. So we got about 90 seconds. Let's go to to Beth here. Carole, would you recommend to follow mediumship the type of person?
Um, I think she's asking what type of person? Is that what
Would you
you?
follow? We'll eliminate that second part. Would you recommend to follow mediumship?
I'm not sure what you mean by follow. Do you mean
All right.
become, develop mediumship, or do you mean
Probably.
read about it, or you know?
Yeah.
You will know. I will tell you, I am of the school that mediums are born, not made. And I never use the word gifted, never. That puts one on a pedestal. I do not use that word. To me, it's a skill. I've done it in other lifetimes. I know I have. I know that I have. So it was just a matter of remembering that. You will know if you're called onto the pathway. Everybody can develop intuitively. Is everyone called to be a professional athlete or a professional musician? I wish I was one of those because I love music. And when I was younger, I was into athleticism. But that wasn't my calling. So you will know if you're called onto the pathway. The fact that you're asking the question may indicate that you are called. So the only way to find out is really to take some development and see how comfortable it feels to you.
I think that's a great answer. Carole Obley, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio. Coming
Thank
up
you.
next, we will have Swamp Dweller. Then extra small Lee Strauss is in for the Q&A. Hour 3 is next.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you so much. You were wonderful.
That was a great interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
You are amazing.
when
Just amazing.
I'm humbled. So are you. You have a great voice for radio. Just great.
Yeah. My broadcast instructor told me I had a great face for radio, too.
Well, you're not bad looking. Come on. Come on. So yeah, and if you ever want me to come back on, just give me
Would
an
love
email
to.
or whatever. I can talk about many, many, many,
I love it.
many topics. So Have a good evening. I'm going
You
to
too.
sign off. It's 2 a.m. here.
You take care. Go get some
So
sleep.
thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.
Chat soon. I'll be right back, everybody. I love Carole. What great energy she has. Oh, my goodness, she's awesome.
Move the chair. Move the chair. Move it. Move it. Try to move it.
All right. It's good to have you back. My name is Dave Scott, and we're going to be back in 1 minute. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell, because we are having a good old time here on Spaced Out Radio as we do each and every night. Reminder to all of you, Sweet Robbie G will be taking this weekend off. So, and I'll be in the forest tomorrow night for my birthday. My birthday's in like 55 minutes. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. I'll be at my Sasquatch spot eating cake tomorrow night. That's what I plan on doing. Thank you tonight to T-Bone times 2, Adam, Kitty Cattywhack, B. Arthur, and Candace. Thank you for the love. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Jessica Davenport, how are you? Here we go. All right, here is the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us. We greatly appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Gigantomachy. Gigantomachy is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp.
So, I and 2 of my buddies were up Lone Peak Canyon with a plan to sleep under the stars and leave the next day. So we got everything set up and decided to go swim in the lake. On our way back, we saw a single deer with abnormally large eyes and ears, and it had odd proportions in general. I've grown up in Utah Valley my whole life, and I've seen thousands of deer, so I know what they usually look and act like. The deer was sitting on a rock like a dog, and it turned its head to watch us without giving any reaction. Its head seemed to turn and follow while its body stayed perfectly still. It almost looked like its head was detached from its body. I decided that it was just an odd occurrence and that I should just ignore it. This was at 4 p.m. About 30 minutes later, we were at our campsite and we saw the same deer chasing another, but it stopped and continued to just look at us for maybe 5 minutes. When we all looked away, it almost just disappeared. Maybe it took off as soon as we looked away, but this was also odd. 30 minutes after that, we saw the same deer, probably 200 yards away up on the side of the hill overlooking us. It stayed there for at least 45 minutes, just staring at us. The 4th time we saw it was later around 9:30 p.m. when we were in our sleeping bags getting ready to go to bed. The deer came up from the river that we were next to, probably 20 feet away, and just looked at us again for maybe 2 minutes and then went back down. The same thing happened again in the same spot 15 minutes later. It almost seemed to be checking if we had gone to sleep yet. It continued to check on us one more time, 15 minutes later again. At this point, I was a little freaked out, but didn't want to say anything because I was afraid my friends would say I was imagining things. So we all tried to go to bed, and at about 10:30 to 10:45, We started hearing something, maybe 10 feet away just under the hill that led to where the river was. We continued to hear what sounded like a deer walking in the river and coming to check on us. Every time it would get close, we would start talking and shine our lights into the trees to see if we could see anything. This happened enough to the point that we grabbed everything and left at midnight. On our way down, my buddy said they kept seeing silhouettes off to our sides. The entire way down, we kept seeing weird things like a deer right next to the road, staring at the mountainside at literally nothing, not moving or reacting or grazing. We continued to see more and more deer that were behaving oddly. But remember that we have all seen thousands of deer just up that canyon itself, and they never behaved like that. Please, anyone, let me know if you think it might have been something.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another excellent, excellent story. Creepy. I got deer in my yard. I was looking at them earlier tonight. The cute part about the deer in my yard, all the females are pregnant right now. So we're going to have the little ones running around here in the next couple of weeks. You know, like the little Bambi-type fawns. Oh, they're so cute. Can't wait. If you want more Swamp Dweller, head on over to YouTube. Hit subscribe on his channel. Ring that bell. He has new stories coming up all the time. He's got thousands for you to listen to. Let's go to the Q&A with Lee. How's it going, my friend? Lee Strauss, good to have you here.
Well, Dave, happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you
Holy
very much.
Cow, the ripe age of like what, 42?
52, man.
Oh.
52.
Well, I'm surprised that you're even a year older than I am because you've got a lot of good looking hair there, man. And I am losing mine left and right every time I take a shower. I dare not comb it.
Well, the good part is, you know, you got the body, though. If we could put my hair on your body, we'd be one good-looking man. We really would.
Yeah, all about 3'9".
Oh, man. Oh, man. Gee whiz. Gee whiz. Thank you. Thank you for the birthday wishes. I really do appreciate that. And yeah, 52, man. You know, it's funny. I was talking to somebody earlier today. I call him a young kid. He's 30 years old.
Uh-huh.
You know, but at our age now, you can call them kids. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I was saying to him, I never thought that I would ever see 50. 50 always seemed, not that I was going to die young, right, but 50 always seems so far away. And now I'm closer to 60 than 40. And I'm like, wow. Wow.
You know, Dave, you got a month on me, you know, because I'm turning July 2nd, I think. Yeah, that's it. That's my birthday.
You're a 73 edition too?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Birthday's right on UFO, National UFO Day or whatever, World UFO Day. Yeah. Imagine that. July 2nd.
So I have a friend of mine texting me right now.
Ah.
And the funny part about it is there's these people who moved into my town. Yeah. I'll call them Ken and Diane. Okay. I have literally known them since I was like 5, 6 years old. Okay. Diana actually used to cut my hair when I was a kid. So I have this guy this friend of mine texted me right now. He goes, "Did you read about Ken?" And I'm thinking, when you get that message at like 11:15, 12 o'clock at night, you're like, what is this about? Did he die?
Something happened?
No, dude won the lottery.
What?
He won $1 million.
Holy cow. I tell you, some people.
I'm like, holy cow. Couldn't happen to better people.
Yeah. Is that Canadian Lotto?
Yeah. So it's about $18 American. But he might be able to get a tank of gas in the US after this.
He might be able to actually buy half a house in Canada.
Right?
Yeah.
He's going to get a fresh bag of fish sticks for dinner. That's what he's going to do.
Yeah, that's about right. You guys are worth off up there, boy, I'll tell you.
Wow.
But I think this this whole paranormal thing that you and I got going, you going to your area, me going to my area, it's not really that far. We're not that far from each other. Really?
I know. I'm waiting for you to come up.
I know it. I'm just waiting. I'm just saving up my days right now. I got one extra day. It's not a lot, but I need at least 2 so that I can come up there and visit. And we will do our thing for sure.
What do you look forward to about coming up here, man?
Dude, I just want to hang out with you and Tim. Really. I mean, over anything else, man, that's what I'm looking forward to. I got to get a mask just like you guys got masks and just hang out.
What are you talking about? There's no masks here. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
No,
I don't know. That just sounds weird. I haven't worn a mask since COVID.
Well, it's weird when we're in the woods doing it, but
yeah, that's a little odd. Yeah. Well, you know what? I love being able to talk all this stuff with you, my man, because I do look forward to you coming up here, driving up from Washington State to British Columbia and having some fun and getting our investigation on a weekend where we're going to go into the forest and make hopefully some strange, memorable things happen with the creatures that are beyond us. One of the things I was talking to Samantha Mowat just the other night with Merle on the show, and one of the things that Samantha really does that I don't do is show a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
In how can I put this? In prepping the characters that be aliens, ghosts, UFOs, in prepping them that you're coming.
Yes.
That you're going to be there and saying, hey, meditating on the fact that, hey, guys, we're coming to this area. I want you to be there. I want you to come out and say hello. I want you to be able to hang out with us. We'll bring the cards. You just bring your party hat, and we'll sit down. We'll have a beer, and we'll have a discussion about what it's like being a Bigfoot.
Right.
Now, of course, I'm saying a little humor in there, but what do you think about that? Like prepping an area mentally.
I do that, Dave. Where we're headed, this weekend out to Diablo Lake. It's in my mind. It's been in my mind for 2 weeks now. And it's almost like I see the area that I'm going to be from space, and I put that out there. I don't know if that helps in capturing the footage that I do capture, but I put it out there. It's like, hey guys, this is where we're going to be. I'm looking down on that location from above, and I'm just kind of sending that out there. This is where we're going to be. This is where we're going to set up. If you guys want to show up, great. We'll have a blast, because we usually do. Once we see them, it's fantastic. It's amazing when they show up for you. And maybe that helps, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's a coincidence. But I do think that things are linked together. You know, there seems to be this river that runs underneath everything that we connect to when we think about things, and other people and other entities pick up on that thought, right? We were talking with Grant on Wednesday about the UFOs know that you've got your camera gear, you got your equipment set up, and they'll come into the screen and then they'll shoot out of the screen, or they'll come into the screen and they'll go super fast out of the screen once they realize that they're being captured on film. But I think what we're looking at in this phenomena is maybe two different factions. You know, there's a group out there that seems to not mind and seems to go ahead and say like hello by strobing for you, or you know, changing colors or doing different things that you ask them to do. And there's just other faction wants to get the heck out of the way. They don't want to be seen for whatever reason. So prepping, yes, a lot of thought goes into it. You know, a lot of research for me goes into it too. What am I going to encounter out there?
Well, and you know what? You bring up a very good point there, because, you know, we all want to have that experience, Lee, but how many of us are really prepped for it? Like, we do this, you and I do this type of show a lot. You do it a couple of times a week. I do it 5 nights a week. And then we go into the forest. And yet so many people say, you know, I'm going out there. I'm going to make something happen. I want to get that picture. I want to get that shot, you know, whatever it may be. Dude, I'm not ready for it.
Well,
you know, I'm, and like I said the other night with Samantha and Merle, I'm a little bit of a chicken out there. Okay, like I don't run away. I don't pull a Merle and, you know, all of a sudden go Carl Lewis on the trail and get the hell out of there. I don't pull that, but I am timid. I'm very timid, because what we are doing in searching for these creatures, whether people believe it or not, what we do is dangerous. It is dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
Never mind the creatures, but it's the other critters that are in the forest in their element as well. Example, I don't know if you heard or not, but when Tim and I were out there, you know, we 3 minutes after we put our pointy sticks away, we saw a cougar. Right? Now, he was probably 150 feet from us. And all I saw, I didn't see the full body, but all I saw was something tan with a straight back. And it was moving fast, and then we heard like it jump on a fallen log, and then like with the front paws, and then the back paws made the sound on the log. And I look at Tim, and I said, that was a cougar. And he's like, Yep, time for us to go. And I went, yep, that's exactly it. But, I mean, that's how quickly things can happen. And him and I were prepared, you know. But you have to think of the safety first. And the other part to that, just to get your thoughts. So I'll get your thoughts on that first.
Dave, up in Canada, I know that you're allowed to have long pointy sticks, but what about the short ones up there?
No short pointy sticks allowed.
Okay, yeah. So generally speaking, when I go out in the woods, we carry short pointy sticks here in Washington State. And usually it's more than one of us. That's a given, right? Even no matter where we're going hiking, going camping, going whatever it is we're doing, if we're going away from home into the woods, into the backcountry, we have them.
Yeah. The short pointy sticks are on the banned list brought by Dear Leader and the current new Dear Leader.
Yeah.
And so, because I refuse to call them Prime Minister.
Uh-huh.
So, we end up having to use, like, thank goodness they haven't taken away slugs for our pointy sticks, our blasting pointy sticks.
Yep.
People are wondering what we mean about pointy sticks. Well, let's just say we're being politically correct here.
Yeah, that's correct.
And it's fun to say. And I credit Joe from our chat room, longtime listener. Joe Took me a while when he started using pointy sticks a number of years ago to figure out what he meant. But yes, we do bring pointy sticks in with us that may go bang really loudly.
Yes, we do. It's a necessary thing for sure when you're out there. Dave, I've never been out there and seen a cougar. I've been in the woods when I was with search and rescue, and we were doing a mock search in the North Cascades. And they said, go out and get lost, basically. Go out and get lost because they're going to send the dogs in. They were training and all of this other stuff. And I was out there deep. I was deep in there. And I could hear the dogs way off in the distance. And they were, trying to find me or whatever. And I got the feeling, Dave, the hair up on the back of my neck. And I was just sitting on this big rock and in all this timber. And I could swear there was a cougar around me. That's just the sense I got, was a cougar was watching me. And I'm like, I don't like this. So what I did was actually went towards the dog barking because I didn't like what was going on, that feeling that I was getting. And, you might get a feeling when you're out there that it could be Sasquatch, or could be this, or could be people, or this or that, but it did feel like cougar to me. And I don't know why it felt like cougar, but it just did.
I want to stop you right there because we got 2 minutes to go. But that is exactly it. When you are in tune with nature, you can almost tell what kind of creature is coming up on you. You really can. And it's weird. Like the bigger, more apex predators give off a different energy than, say, a deer or a rabbit or a bird or something cute in the forest. Mm-hmm. They give off a higher level of energy, and I just had a shadow move right underneath my computer screen that I'm looking at right now.
Ooh.
Oh, that shit scared me. It was like a miniature one, too. Like a small one. Not a big, tall one, because I would see it over top of my screen, but like a small one. I'm like goosebumping now. Yeah. Oh, that just tripped me out. Like, seriously, I am goosebumping here. But anyways, back to more important things. It is so weird how these animals can give off an energy signal that we as humans pick up. Yeah. And you have to be cognizant. You have to learn that.
It's absolutely necessary. And I will say, before we go to break, you're going to know if it's human. You're going to know if it's animal. There's a difference.
Yeah. 40 seconds. How do you know? How did you know? What made it feel like a cougar?
It's just a picture that ended up in my mind. That's pretty much what it is. You pay attention, you feel the change in the atmosphere around you, and you get a picture in your mind. It's that deep feeling and that picture.
I love that. Okay, that's a great answer. I'm going to get you to hold on right there, Lee, because we're going to continue with that thought. We're hopefully going to get into some UFOs as well. We're just bantering away here on the Q&A with Lee Strauss, the extra small one from our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio. He has a show on Friday nights called Element 115. This is Spaced Out Radio. We'll be right back.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
Great job so far, Lee.
Thanks, sir. Thank you. I'm hoping we can tie all that together because I think we can. Yeah. As we get back into it.
Yeah, we'll tie it all in. We shall see what we can do.
Absolutely.
We shall see what we can do.
But man, I have been busy all week getting everything charged up and ready to go. It's been heck. There's a lot of equipment to get ready, and making sure that all your SD cards and your micro SD cards are wiped clean and formatted, and batteries are charged, and you got all the cables you need and everything. It's a lot of work.
Make sure that when you come up here, you don't bring any pointy sticks because the border guards don't like that.
No, I'll rely on your pointy sticks.
Yeah. We have enough pointy sticks up here.
Yeah. That's for sure. And they might pull me over and spend several hours going through my equipment.
Uh-huh.
That's a good time. We're going to have to deal with the Forest Service tomorrow. I know it. I've heard a little rumor that they like to camp out there where we're going to be and watch what people are doing. So
how long are you going for?
Oh, we're just going for 2 nights. Yeah, just 2 nights. It'll be good. I guess I can say it since we're not on the radio. Just Saturday night and Sunday night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I've got another guy who's had some UFO experiences that is going to be joining us for the first time. And when we go live on Saturday, we'll be bringing him forward to talk about his experiences on Facebook when we do our live.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Gotta keep branching out and pushing forward.
That we do.
Mm-hmm.
That we do.
So it sounds like, sounds like Filth has got a show coming up, which is kind of interesting tomorrow.
I know. I'm so excited for him. He was so nervous to ask me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like he called me or he texted me. He's like, "Hey man, do you have time to talk? I need to chat with you." And I always, I'm a paranoid guy at times, and I'm always like, uh-oh. And so Filth always takes the long way because he's very sheepish. And he's like, I've been thinking about doing a show, and I was wondering, would you mind if I put it on Spaced Out Radio? And it was like, yeah, do it. Really?
Yeah.
And then he's trying to explain himself. I'm like, no, Phil, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. You deserve it. You deserve everything that you get. Shaq Filet, how are you? You deserve everything that you do. You deserve everything that you get. You're an amazing teammate. You're amazing as a human being. Just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so he's a little nervous. Had to walk him through StreamYard today.
Yeah.
But he's very excited. He's very excited in order to do it and have some fun and kind of go from there.
Oh, I'm happy for him. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm not a very good conversationalist. I'm really not. I'm the guy that's in the back corner by himself, looking at his phone or playing tiddlywinks. I'm not.
I'm the same way, dude. Like honestly, if I was like in Vegas or in Nebraska, I disappear.
Yeah.
I'll walk up to people. Hey, how you doing? Good. Yeah, great to see you, and it's nice to see you. How was your flight? You do all the small talk, and then I'm like, well, I'll be back in a few minutes. And then I go somewhere else, and then I come back, and then I go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm an introvert that way, man. And it is, if you would have known me before my experiences and before I started this show, I was so extroverted.
Really?
Oh, huge. And now, nah, I'd rather hide. It's easier.
Yeah, I'm good at hiding.
Thank you tonight to Gary. T-Bone times 2. Is it T-Bone times 2? Or does he get, no, 3. T-Bone's got a hat trick now. T-Bone got a hat trick. Adam, Kitty Caddywhack, B. Arthur, and Candace for the Super Chats. Much love, everybody. We really appreciate it. Don't forget, you can find our new swag at spacedoutradio.com. We got good stuff up there now. Here we go. Here we go with the final half hour of the Q&A with Lee Strauss. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you miss most of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Lee Strauss, we call him extra small around here. He's the host of Element 115, a 1-hour Friday night show starting at 8 p.m. Pacific on the Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel. He joins us tonight. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Dave. You know, I was alerted today that there was some new swag in the store too. And I went and took a look, and now there's a Team Stump shirt.
Oh yeah,
I
gotta redo.
So hard.
I gotta redo the Team Stump shirts in
Oh
our
my!
store.
Oh, and I laughed so hard though. That was fantastic. Oh my gosh, that brought it back from when I was with my buddy way back here at Devil's Tower. When we went live back there. Yeah, it was awesome.
I still believe that it's a tree stump. I don't believe it's a rock for a second.
It is totally a rock.
It's a petrified tree.
No, it just can't be. It just can't. It's basalt. It's a basalt. You see this basalt, you know, what are they called? These rock formations all over the place. It's just another basalt rock formation, Dave. That's what it is.
You can
it's not a conspiracy.
You can believe whatever you want in your hypothetical Christian Caucasian scientific way. Okay.
And you're not.
But it's a tree. It's a tree.
Okay. Well, we're just going to go with that for now then, because I'm not going to argue.
Joe Monk in our chat room, he's a former geologist.
Yeah.
He says it's a tree that turned into basalt.
How is that possible? Because lava makes basalt.
Still a tree. It's a petrified tree that turned into basalt.
Okay. Anyway, so let's continue with our discussion that we were having.
So hold
earlier.
on a second here. You're pretty much saying you're on Team Rock rather than Team Stump.
Well, it's still funny. You know, it's still funny, but the fact that you called it Team Stump and I've got the rock here, it's still funny to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm good.
Yep. You probably think aliens are humanoids too.
Well, you know, Dave, they all have, well, the majority, I would imagine, have 2 arms and 2 legs, at least the ones that I know of.
Try and find an alien with nipples.
That's on you. If you want to go there, that's on you.
Try and find an alien with nipples. You'll never find one. All the grays don't have nipples.
That's right. They're genetically engineered.
What's with that? Why don't they have nipples?
I haven't met an alien with nipples, so you've got one on me. Just yeah. So what's up with all these people spending billions of dollars on UFO programs?
Well, that's actually an interesting story that you bring up there, because Jeremy McGowan, and I have battled with Jeremy McGowan on a professional level before.
Yeah.
But as well as I do, the past number of months, probably over a year now, we have been contemplating, what is Peter Thiel billionaire tycoon in the defense industry, made his billions off of his first billions off of PayPal with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And then he goes and funds Enigma Labs to the tune of, we believe, between $5 and $8 million. And then all of a sudden, one of his students, a guy named Jesse Michaels, comes out with a YouTube channel that just seems to have all of the big name whistleblowers. The guy had never done an interview on this subject in his life, and the next thing you know, he becomes popular because he's the only one who was able to interview David Grush at the time.
Pay for play.
And a lot of people are wondering, is that tie still real? Well, Jeremy McGowan released a 65-page report, including bibliographies, table of contents, and everything, regarding the fact that he believes Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, and many other billionaires are quietly trying to position people within ufology to try and take this subject over, so that way when it does break, if it ever does, they will be at the forefront of the technology. They will be at the forefront of everything from anti-gravitics to high G-force craft.
Yeah.
Okay? And there is a lot of mystery behind craft, as you know. And this is a sidebar to this. I mean, how many times have we heard people say, I saw an orb in my room, it kind of sucked me in, but when I went inside, it was the size of a football field. How does that make any sense? It doesn't.
No, it
Yet
does
here
not.
we are. So apparently, in this report, it shows, and I encourage everybody to go read it. Okay, you can find it at Osiris on X, OSIRUS or IS, sorry, Osiris. Jeremy McGowan, MCJOW or GOWAN. I encourage people to read it. And look, publicly speaking, Jeremy McGowan and Lou Elizondo have had a very one-sided pissing contest, if I could use that term, over the years.
Yeah.
Jeremy is not a fan of Lou Elizondo. He's not a fan of whistleblowers. He's not a fan of people who are playing a game that he thinks shouldn't be played. And he's highly critical on that. And I do believe, if I'm calling it down the middle, I do believe there is a little bit of bias in the report. But the point that I'm getting at is more and more people in ufology seem to be starting to realize that Peter Thiel, the owner of a big company, defense company called Palantir, they take care of all the anti-hacking software for the military. They kind of know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, he has this secret love of UFOs that nobody really wants. He doesn't want anybody to know about. What's your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts, Dave, is that we already have so many defense companies out there, contractors, and they all are fighting for a piece of this. As you know, Boeing has been into it, Lockheed Martin, and so many others already for so long. They've already got the technology that they're able to pull from these craft. And I bet you if somebody does any kind of search, into different patents, they're going to start finding these things, right? And I know they're out there because I've seen some of them online. Not that everything online is real, but still. What other patents are available? I don't know. I don't know the breadth of this, right? But I'm going to say that if they've been studying this stuff for 60, 70 years already, and it's already been in their hands, they've probably got all the patents they need. And what is a new company going to do with this technology if there's already patents been put in place for it? So there's got to be something else. Is it control of the information? Do they want control of the information? Does that help in some way? I mean, if they're all positioning themselves and lining up to do this, start doing this research, why is it relevant? What is good about capturing the public's attention and making this stuff relevant to everybody, or making it known to everybody? I don't have the answer, but I'm sure, Dave, that there's a good reason for it. I just don't know what the answer is.
Is there a good reason, though? Because here's the thing. This is what I have noticed. And once again, this is my opinion. I know others have this opinion as well, because it's been a behind closed doors conversation with numerous people who are like, yeah, we're noticing this too. People are noticing that if you look at all these UFO groups, these UAP groups with scientists and everything, it's all the same people in a bunch of different groups.
Yeah.
That's number one. I mean, how many, no offense to Gary Nolan,
Right.
the brilliant doctor scientist from Stanford University.
Yes. Who is working with Skywatcher currently?
He's working with a number of groups.
Okay.
Avi Loeb from Harvard is working with a number of groups. Chris Mellon, former Deputy Secretary of Defense, is working with a number of groups. Rich Hoffman, a number of groups. And the list, Lou Elizondo, a number of groups. And the list goes on and on and on and on. How many groups do you need to be a part of? And you know what these groups are doing? Whether it's the Soul Foundation or UAPDF or whoever, they're all going for lobbyist money.
Oh.
Okay? They're looking for that big grant, that big donation, not of something small like hey, can I donate $1,000 to the cause, or $100 to the cause, or $10? No, they want millions. They want millions. One group even asked for $1 billion, okay, to study this.
It's ridiculous.
And then you look at the social media aspect, where these cliques have formed, where the whistleblowers won't talk to dear old Lee or Dave or Martin Willis or B. Arthur or any of the Jason Gilmette or any of these UFO podcasters, YouTubers, or even radio shows.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to control who they can softball question these guys to.
So they want their questions answered, and they want to control the narrative.
They want people to be asking whistleblowers, and I'm convinced of this. What did it look like? How heavy was it? Did it happen at Area 51? You know, when you get softball questions like that, I'll give you an example, Lee. I've used this before. Maybe you've never heard it. I hate soccer. Loathe soccer. When I was a sports reporter, okay, every other sport was heaven. Soccer was the Antichrist. Okay? And that's my feeling. Like, I'm the type of person, Lee, that when I punish my son, okay, and he's acting up, I say, son, get your shoes on. Let's go to the soccer field. Okay? Dad, I don't want to. No, that's true punishment. I don't take him to the bathroom. I don't scold him. I don't, smack him on the butt or anything. I just say, son, let's go to the soccer field. You can roll around with all the other fakers on there. And all those other parents who don't like their kids. Right? I'm convinced that's why parents allow their children to play soccer. But either way, that's off on a tangent. Now I don't know where I was going. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I hated covering soccer when I was a sports reporter. But it was part of my duty as part of my job. Because I didn't like soccer, didn't want anything to do with soccer, thought it was funny that these athletes were taking this game seriously, because I don't recognize it as a sport. Okay. I would go into the dressing room after a practice, or after a game, a match and training, not a practice, a game, a match and training. Okay.
Yeah.
And I would sit there and I would say, how'd it go today? Are you ready for the next game? What do you have to do to win? You scored last time.
Yeah.
Do you think you have another goal in you this time? Because we know it's going to be a blowout at 1-0. Right? I never said that part. I'm saying that because I'm acting tough on my microphone now. Right? But that's what I would do, is I would ask softball questions. These guys, these whistleblowers, outside of maybe Ross Coulthard, have not been asked tough questions. And when I say tough questions, I'm not like, a lot of these podcasters think you got to be like, you're lying, tell us the truth. Not like that. That's not a tough question.
Right.
That's an aggressive tactic.
Yep.
For no reason. Who are you with? What unit were you with? What time of the year did it happen? Who were the witnesses? What was the mission? Why is your tape so grainy?
Yeah.
There's a lot of tough questions. What was your rank at that time? Does it show in your DD-214?
Yeah.
What contractor did you work for at that time? What would have you driving around a base? Okay.
Those aren't tough questions. Those are pointed questions.
They're tough. Yeah, they're both. They're both. But you don't have to be a jerk to ask the questions.
That's correct.
A lot of these people want to be jerks out there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But that's how they get away with. Like I remember watching Lou Elizondo on his tour, where he was doing his media tour for his book. He goes on this one, cable channel, gets interviewed, and all the guy could say was, are the effing aliens real? And Lou's sitting there laughing. Oh, yeah, they're real. They're real. They're real. We got effing aliens here? Like, he was on for like 10, 15 minutes, whatever the segment was. But that's what he got.
Yeah.
How does that improve? Sure, that person has an audience, because they wouldn't be in that position if they didn't have an audience.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Unless you're Ricky Lake. and then it keeps them away from the real questions.
It does. And that's very unfortunate. They're probably going to seek out people like that. That's why you hear a lot of the time before somebody comes on your show, especially people of that caliber, what are your questions going to be? I'd like a list. I mean, there's all those sorts of questions that they'll ask prior to even agreeing to come on your show. I've seen that time and time again, and so that just makes me wonder, what's the deal here? Have they been told not to talk about certain things? Or they, just want to sideline some things? What is going on? Is this all being orchestrated by somebody,
I believe it is. And the reason why we get into this broken record conversation is because I strongly believe that we have a team of people who are trying to control the media narrative, trying to control the money narrative. It's not about UFOs. That's why they have UAP.
Yeah.
But it is about trying to control what is going on, because when it hits, it's going to be a lot of money, Lee. A lot of money.
And it's not going to be us that receives it. I can guarantee you that.
No, we're just the cannon fodder. We're the shows like ours are considered, how would you put it, the small crumbs.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
though we have a big audience, we're considered small crumbs.
Yep.
Okay? Because that's what we're picking up. We're like rats in a feeding frenzy. They drop the crumbs and we all rush in trying to get our portion.
Exactly. They talk about UFOs disappearing and, moving away from a camera. And then, so what do? Of course, I'm picking up the crumbs, right? I'm going to push out 2 videos that I have of the same sort of thing happening in the skies because I'm trying to capitalize on what's already been said. So it's like we are always picking up the pieces.
And that's exactly it. But there are many people, like Grant Cameron said the other night, there are many people who believe that people like you, like me, like our listeners who've seen things, that they are more on the edge of disclosure than the scientists will ever be right now. They may have the more toys, they may have the inside information, but what they don't have a lot of is experience or knowledge to help lead them to where they need to go. And that's where I think is the failing point of the scientific community on this. Lee, it is that time to say goodnight. Thank you very much for a great time on the Q&A. We will talk to you next week as we say goodnight to Lee. And hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god of self. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friend, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Beautiful times, Lee. Beautiful times.
You run it. You ran it. I have the hardest time remembering all those people's names. Holy crud.
What names?
The disclosure movement names. Everybody in the disclosure movement. Holy cow. There's
just
like 100
when you think
of them.
you get them all, there's a new 2 or 3 that pop in. It's never just one. It's like 2 or 3.
Yeah. It's dizzying to me, that's for sure. But anyway, I'm gonna call it. I've got to get up at 4 a.m. again.
Where are you heading now?
Diablo Lake, my friend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. There's something wrong with the guy that can type that fast. He's had a lot of practice.
Dude, when I was in radio, you would never believe, when you work in a job that's timed out, like working in radio, you'd never believe how much you can write and get in 10 seconds.
Well, I'm at 13 words a minute.
I think when I worked in radio, my fastest, I think it was like 115 words a minute.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, I can.
Now
I
I'm probably about 40, if that.
Well, a lot better than I can do. Anyway, everybody, I'm going to head on out of here. So, Dave, once again, happy birthday. Man, I hope you have a blast.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. And everybody out there.
Are you going alone or are you going with someone?
I got 4 this time. There's 4 of us. So it'll be good.
All right, buddy. You have a good night.
You too.
Take care.
You.
Go. For the rest of you, once again, Sweet Robbie G will be taking the weekend off due to Memorial Day weekend. If you're a veteran, thank you very much for your service. We love you, and thank you for everything that you have done. And Deborah Rooney, thank you for that awesome super chat. Greatly appreciate it, along with T-Bone with a hat trick, Gary, Candace, B. Arthur, Adam, and Kitty Cattywhack. Thank you for the love. I will be back on Monday night, or I believe it's Lon Strickler. Let me check here. Yeah, it's Lon Strickler, and it's going to be a great week next week. Thank you very much. I'm going to go enjoy my birthday, and you guys have a great one. We'll talk to you on Monday. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.